So, life in Spain. This video is about tradesmen. We all suffer from it in Spain. Not just Spain. So if anyone's Spanish and they're starting to give out, it's not just about Spain, but it's what I've experienced in Spain, but it applies everywhere, okay? So what I've done is, quite simply, is I've started learning myself via YouTube to do everything myself. Quite literally, okay? Caveat, by the end of this video, hopefully you'll take some tips away from me. I am not an expert, I'm the rubbish DIY, I can't even change a plug, okay? But I've had to force myself. This is going to give you tips on how to handle tradesmen, and don't put up with rubbish from them, okay? Get at least 5 tips, 5 quotes. So just a quick one before I continue, please subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos, they're on all sorts. Tax, office, everything that I've experienced, changing my car, number plates. It's about 100 videos at this stage. So subscribe, see what you think. Okay, so dealing with tradesmen. First thing I would say is, just because you're new to Spain, okay, does not mean you don't have rights, okay? They seem to come to the house all bolshy and all sort of tough guy, almost bully-like in some cases, and then you get the ones that are really, really, really nice, and they tend to actually be the worst ones. But you get either or, all right? Get a quotation first. Don't put up with this, I don't know, it might be X amount an hour, all right? Get a fixed price. If not, keep looking. But don't get disheartened, because you can actually get quite depressed about it, because you're looking and they're coming and you're getting rubbish quotes. They will overcharge you, 100%. They see the money. They smell the money, believe me. And anybody that doesn't think that, then they're just very, very lucky, okay? So dealing with tradesmen as well, don't pay for it all up front, pay about a third. That is normal in Spain. So if you're getting a quote for, let's say, £1,000 for labour for bathroom, labour only, pay a couple of £100, £300. Don't pay anything more than that. Now then, if things go wrong, what do? Quite simple. You send them an email, give them a chance to come back and sort it out, okay? If they start playing the game of, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll just take everything out and whatever, don't put up with that. Just don't let them in the house again. Get somebody else in, and then reduce the cost, because anything below a couple of grand anyway, at the end of the day, if they want to take the call, that's fine. But if they've done a rubbish job, which happened to us, don't pay them, okay? And don't put up with all their threats. What they tend to do is, and we've only had this once, it's not something I encourage, but what they do is they send you something called a burofax. Oh, we did this, we did that, and they tend to then stretch the truth. In our case, that's what they did. This solar company from Malaga, complete cowboys, put in an unsafe system, and the burofax is just a registered letter. Don't panic about it, okay? Just ignore it. Unless you get a summons from the courts, forget about it. If they've done a bad job, Luna, come on, Luna, come on, what are you doing? Luna's come to help. If they've done a bad job, don't bow down to pressure, okay? If you find yourself in a situation where you can't get somebody in, just try and do it yourself, if it's a basic system, all right? Now, what have we had that has been issues? First of all, air conditioning. Air conditioning systems are quite powerful. They should not be, and this is something that in Granada they tend to do, should not be wired into the socket, okay? Should they, Luna? Where's she going? What they wanted to do was wire them into the socket. They should be on a dedicated circuit. Look it up on ChatGPT, look it up on Google. Oi, look, Luna, what you got? ChatGPT, they need to be wired into circuit because, one, warranty, it voids the warranty if something happens, and it'll affect your house insurance. If the house burns down, they'll look at it, and as long as it's still there, the house, they will say, oh, sorry, that was wired incorrectly. Insist on them having a dedicated circuit from here into the fuse board, okay? We have a commercial grade one. I'm going to shut the door because the dogs are... the commercial grade one is in there. So basically, so that was our first issue. And then on 2 more machines they put in, they didn't put them on a wired circuit. And then when we insisted on coming back, they started, claiming all sorts of rubbish. And there was also an issue with the one in the bedroom during the summer. It wasn't going to 18, 90 degrees. They said, oh, that's because the house is bad and insulation and yada, yada, yada. Don't listen to their bull, okay? That was that one. Solar systems, what we had was they put a wire, they said when they arrived, and this happens, bearing in mind, there's a lot of old houses in Granada, but suddenly, oh my God, you've got an old house with no neutral wires. Well, we have to do a dedicated line from the road of, I think it was 10 mil, upgrade from a 6 mil. That's standard, everybody does that. Then what they tried to do, sorry, they put the 10 mil in, and it wasn't a line for outside, it was an indoor wire. I discovered that through someone else visiting. And then what they did was I was chatting to the guy near who's doing the fuse board when the boss wasn't there, and I said, oh, how long have you been an electrician as the fuse board's in bits? Oh, I'm not an electrician. What? Whoa, okay. So then I rang the boss up, this guy from Malaga, and I said, how do you certify afterwards? Oh, we send photos to an electrician up in Madrid. You send photos? So he doesn't come down and inspect it? No. Well, that's not legal. Well, it is in Spain. You'll get that a lot as well. Well, here in Spain. Bull, okay? Be your own person, take your own advice, and get a lot of quotes, okay? And that's how to deal with them. Be firm, be nice, okay? You don't want to annoy people, but if they're not doing a job and they're putting your lives at risk, you know, what do they expect? So, getting back to what happens then, in general jobs, yeah, I've had to start learning stuff really because it's the easiest way. So unless you've got really deep pockets, I've laid the flooring myself, okay, which is like a lino, and this is another thing. Okay, we had a guy recommended to us. He installed the plumbing side of things, so I'm no good at plumbing. But look, if you look at the back here, he's left a big gap. Okay, and yes, these do screw, but to that point there. So there's a big gap. That's. So now he's left that, hasn't sealed it. So he went away because we had to wait for the cabinet to come, which again I'm going to install myself, along with this lovely sink. Hope you guys like it. And a mirror, I can do that myself. And then we said, well, before he came back, I said, oh, but how about the bathroom upstairs? Now this guy will turn up, and what he does was he would never, because I couldn't get anyone else, in this case, because it's plumbing, I had to go for this guy. Because he was quite reasonable as well, but he would charge by the hour, so he would add it up at the end, and he was always reasonable. But for the job upstairs, which is basically moving plumbing from 1 foot of a location to the next, fitting a bath, it's a jacuzzi bath, and taking out a sink and a toilet and replacing it with a sink and a toilet, where there's already plumbing, he wanted €900 cash. I mean, that... You know, even if he was charging 30 quid an hour and did a 10-hour day, which they never do, then yeah, that's too expensive. Finally, because I'm not going to waffle on, the timings. You will find that plumbers, tradesmen, electricians arrive at your house 8, 9 o'clock at night. He was here till 1 in the morning sometimes, because especially in the summer, it's because of the heat. So just bear that in mind, okay? And I completely understand why they do it, but yeah, I would... just take into account if you're, you know, suddenly, it tends to creep up to that time as the job goes on, but just bear that in mind. So just to recap, get at least 5 quotes, minimum, if not more. I know it's hassle, and you're going, oh God, Jesus, really? Trust me, all right? Have a backup plan and somebody back up if that guy doesn't work out. That happens a lot. And even people from Spain tell me, be careful with tradesmen, okay? I know it is what it is, but you know, getting references and checking certification, they tend to not put up with that. You know, they don't seem to you know, do that here. But just do that, all right, and make sure the job's done correctly. Know exactly, almost as good as they do, what they need to do before they arrive, so that and keep an eye on them. Don't be afraid to keep looking in, even if they're huffing and puffing. We've had that as well. And make sure that you know, you don't put up with their rubbish, really. If they try and do it unsafe, don't pay them. Simple as that. And again, there's going to be comments, oh, that's not right. Well, it is, I'm afraid. And I'm sure, you know, if I did a bad job in your house and, you know, it's unsafe, which is even worse, you know, why should you be paid for it? But just make sure you have a plan when they arrive. But yeah, look, guys, thanks very much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't be afraid to tackle stuff yourself. Not electrics and not plumbing. I wouldn't recommend, but certainly stuff like fitting a shower, even a shower tray, etc., etc., you can do yourselves. Okay, cheers guys, thanks very much.